Good evening, friends. How are you? I'm sure you are enjoying today. I'm Kuldeep and I welcome you all in the third session of Weekly Live. And हमेशा की जैसे our expert trainer is MS Sriram from Bengaluru. And for new audience, let me introduce MS Sriram. He is a certified coach, and he has done a certification bicycle mechanic course from one of the known bicycle mechanic school of US. आई एम श्योर हमारे बहुत जो पुराने ऑडियंस जिन्होंने सेशन अटेंड किया है उन्होंने गूगल भी किया होगा कि बाइसिकल मैकेनिक कोर्स क्या होता है और ज़्यादा डिटेल जाननी हो तो यू कैन ऑलवेज कॉन्टैक्ट एम एस श्रीराम and after doing that course he worked for 8 years as a sales manager and a technical head in a known international cycling brand. So he has a good experience, professional experience in cycling. Let me tell you about his cycling experience. He's doing cycling from 2005, and in our last session he shared his first experience of his first long ride, which was from Mysuru to Kanyakumari, and that was really interesting. Okay, and he has also done many MTB races, and his most memorable MTB is in Himachal Pradesh. He did it in 2007. So let me understand from Sriram what's special about that MTB race.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So I have not ridden much on MTBs because races ज़्यादा होते नहीं थे. There were not many races. My first bike was an MTB. It was a Trek 3700, which was one of the earliest sold bikes in the country from an international brand at the time. And so that is what the only bike we were exposed to. Mountain bikes were the only kind of bikes that were available in the country. तो हमने सोचा one of the riders from Bangalore who was a friend of mine. He said यार MTV हिमाचल कर बहुत ही अच्छा रहता है, ब्यूटीफुल रहता है, सीनिक रहता है, बट मुश्किल है. So that is what he had told. And I was anyways training, riding every day to college and all that. And young 19-year-old, 18, 19, 20 में तो obviously fitness तो रहता ही है. तो I signed up, or the reason why I signed up was they had a student discount 50% off, and that is what really, for me it was exciting to go for it. So मैं गया शिमला पहली बार. That was my first time I went to Shimla hill station, beautiful place, and without much of expectation, but it was very very beautiful. It's For me it was, I was extremely excited to go and ride. It is tough. We used to ride about it was, I think, 8-day race with a 1 day break in the middle. And it was, we used to start off at 8:39 in the morning, when it was cold. This was in September, so it was not super cold, but it is quite chilly. And we used to start off at 8:39 after breakfast, and then we used to ride about 80 kilometers a day, out of which 40 kilometers would be downhill, 40 kilometers would be uphill. And uphill, generally it was state highways which were not tarred. So these were not metal roads. These were basically broken tarmac बोल सकते हैं. But the beauty around was absolutely breathtaking. These are connecting small towns of Himachal. I still remember so many places we had gone to, like Mashobra, Narkanda, Rodu, Gadagusheni, and Tane Jubbad, all these places. And then we went to Kullu Sarahan, which is the highlight, which is really really tough. So I mean, if somebody wants to ride the mountain bike in a area where they can have real good fun, but it's also going to challenge the body, I totally recommend this race. They have a shorter 3-day format as well nowadays, which happens. It's called MTB Shimla. That's also good. A lot of talent has come out of Himachal and Uttarakhand area. We have quite a few top mountain bikers of our country who are from this part of the country. So I mean, it's great. It's great to see talent coming up, and I think everybody should try and get a few mountain bike rides in that region. So yeah, it's that's what I went twice actually. दो बार किया हूँ मैं.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
Yeah. But
So,
yeah.
what is the suitable season to do this MTB race?
So it happens every year, around September, if I'm right. September, October के पास, September end में होता है. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very good, well organized, अच्छा खासा organization था. I mean, उस टाइम पे मैं गया था 2007-8 में, उसके बाद नहीं गया हूँ. 2007 पे गया और 2000 आई थिंक 9 में गया दूसरी बार. And then it was, I mean, good fun. Yeah, you have good food, you have good support, you have good, great fun volunteers, and every day when we break after the ride, when we reach some place, we generally reach about post lunch 3:34 pe we used to reach. The fastest riders will reach around 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock. I mean, at least that time. I don't know now. But beautiful. So basically, what is very attractive about this whole event is beauty of the place, well organized, and you get to ride your mountain bike in the place that is made, supposed to be. So you have all the three, and it obviously pushes you to be. So train करके जाओ, तो और भी मजा आएगा. अगर ट्रेन करके नहीं जाओगे तो थोड़ा कम मजा आएगा.
एंड देर आर चांसेस टू गेट इंजर्ड ऑल्सो. सो गाइज, अगर
Yeah,
किसी को उस रेस के बारे में और इन्फॉर्मेशन चाहिए, सो आई एम डिस्प्लेइंग द कॉन्टैक्ट डिटेल्स ऑफ श्रीराम. You can
yeah,
always get in touch with him. Okay, so let's
yeah.
move ahead in our session. So today's session is about bike fit. So why it is important. So I do not want to say anything. Let's hear it from Sriram. Sriram, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Kuldeep. So today's session, I want to make it very simple. So I will be not getting into too much of details. I want to keep it as simple as possible so that we can cover a wide range of topics that I want to share with each one of you, but not getting too caught up with extremely tiny, minuscule details. If you have a pen and paper, please, it will come in very handy for this session as always. But for this session specifically, because there are things that you might want to note down. Um, I will straight away get into bike fit with a question to everybody. What is a bike fit? What do we mean by a bike fit? So, does anybody have an answer? Can somebody tell me what is a bike fit? We can have your answers coming in. But simply put, it's bike fit is something basically you set up a bike for the rider. So if you have a bicycle with you, you want to set up your bicycle. What can the changes be done? You can basically change saddle height. You can do a little bit of handlebar adjustment, stem adjustment, and all that. If you don't know what's a stem, it's very simple. Stem is the part connecting the handlebar to the fork. It's yes, correct posture for riding is one reason why we do a bike fit. So bike fit is basically for the correct posture of the rider, to keep you injury free, to increase your performance, and basically out of all these things, you it increases your efficiency. So if you're taking part in 200 where you are doing multiple days of rides, uh, the stage is all being designed in such a way that you don't have to suddenly increase too much of kilometers. So if you're disciplined, you don't have to shock your body into riding suddenly a lot of distances. But even otherwise, if you still have some pains and aches which are not going, and these are not normal aches and pains, these are because the position is not okay, then that is the reason why we need a bike fit. So that's what I would say. And as you go faster and faster on the cycle, the chances of getting injured because of a incorrect setup of the bike to suit your body can cause injuries. Um, Everybody needs them, but more people who are going trying to go faster will have a huge advantage with the bike fit, right? So if you want to squeeze out everything performance from the bicycle, get a bike fit done. If you're just going grocery shopping 1 kilometer, maybe you might not be the first customer to go for a bike fit. Yeah, so that's the question. That's the answer for what is a bike fit. So how does one get a bike fit done? Bike fit, when you get a bike fit done, it's ideally done by most cycle stores who know about ho- who are basically run by stores who are riders themselves. Okay, if a cycle store is owned by a rider, it's always better because the riders understand other cyclists. If they don't have a rider who owns the store, if at the shop level, at the store level, on the floor, if you have a cyclist, that's also working. So anything to do with somebody who's a rider can do the bike fit. But can all riders do a bike fit? Maybe not. Um, So the cycle store is one level of getting the bike fit done. That's your easiest way. There are very few in India people who offer bike fit services, which are specialists. Okay, who offer bike fit services, and they're known for their bike fits. Um, I would like to consider that I am one of them because I don't own a store. Uh, a regular store. I do not own a regular cycle store, but I love doing bike fits. Not because I just love it, because I also feel that there's a huge difference in those people who have come to me, and after a bike fit they report to me, and if the pain is still there, they'll tell me it's still there, or if it's not there, they'll say, "Okay, this pain is gone." So it's a very good, satisfying thing. So I love doing bike fits, so I do it myself. Um, how does one get a bike fit done? Exactly. The question is, you go to a cycle store whom you trust, who has got a cyclist on the shop floor, or you go to a specialist bike fitting person like me, if that person is there in your city, right? Uh, in the last 2 years, I've seen a lot of people who are offering these services increasingly. It's still very small, but you will get it. I'm just looking at my phone so that I can check what's the next point. Okay, so who can do a bike fit? I'm going to answer the way I think it is. It's not written in any book, or it's not something that I've referred to. This is my own logic which I am applying. So who can do a bike fit? In my view, in my it's totally my view. I have not come across this. It's somebody who should be a cyclist. Okay, but just being a cyclist is not enough. Somebody who's also a fitness coach, or a personal trainer kind of a person who knows about the body, physiology of the body. Okay, exercise करने के time पे what happens. So that's a fitness coach. Uh, the other person should be a bicycle technical specialist. So somebody who knows about the bicycle stem, if you change what happens, saddle, if you change what happens, what can the parts be changed. So somebody who knows about the cycle. And then the other pillar is somebody who's done a lot of bike fits. Obviously, when somebody starting off, he or she might not have experience of doing bike fits, but that experience also helps a lot. So that's the fourth pillar. I'm myself a cyclist. I'm myself a certified coach. I also am a certified technical specialist, and I've done a few bike fits myself. Not a few, maybe more than a few, but this is something unique that I have, and it's come to me because of luck and passion and whatever. But I'm not complaining. I'm happy. So I wear all the four hats, all the three hats of cyclist, certified person trainer, and a bike technical specialist when I'm talking and doing a bike fit. So if you don't have this kind of a value system in your bike fit, I'm not saying it's not the only way, but this is my belief, right? Generally, bike fitters also work with uh, sports medicine doctors in other countries of the world. It's not unheard of, so it's kind of tag team sometimes, right? So that's what it is. So how do we start off with bike fit, right? Step one is basically like the way you wear a shoe. When you buy a shoe, you try and see your size. You can't get a shoe which is not correct size. Can anybody wear a wrong size shoe? You will return it, right? Similarly, ideally, before you end up paying the money to the cycle store, you need to confirm and be sure of what the frame size for that bicycle is. Very simple. uh, the best way to do this is, okay, you can ask a lot of people. A lot of people will give you a lot of options, but that's not the easiest way to do it. You will get confused. The simplest way is to go to the brand. Once you have a brand and a model, obviously whichever bike you're going to buy, if there is going to be a brand name and then there's going to be a model name. If these two are confirmed, and then there'll be a size that is offered to you. Let's say I'm getting एक brand में medium size एक bike पे. Okay, so there's a fixed brand and a model and a frame size being offered to you. Now, if you want to confirm that frame size, you just go to the brand website and put in your height. What doesn't change is your height. Your height is the same no matter which bicycle you buy. Based on that height, they will give you a recommended size that you need to buy. This is the simplest way to not go wrong. Okay, it's the simplest way to do it, get it right. So if I look at a brand, if I look at a model, they will have a height chart, and for my height, it will be given a medium or a small or a large. Sometimes this can get slightly more complicated when you fall in between two sizes. Say I am 165 centimeters in height, and 165 पे small end होता है और medium start होता है, correct? तो उस time पे you will have to take a call. That is on the border of small and medium. So that is when it can get slightly more tricky. That is when you might have to connect with a specialist from the brand or from the store, or ask a person whom you really trust with bike sizing. Okay. A few brands in the country right now also offer the frame sizing option. This is called the frame sizing. The frame sizing option feature is included while you buy a bike. So they do like a test. They have a machine with a laser pointer. It has been done by a brand in India already. So that is also there. But it's again, if it's not calibrated properly, if there is some problem with the machine, or if it's not set up properly at the store level, it can throw up error data. I'm assuming it should not happen, but there is definitely one drawback sometimes when there's a machine and the person who's operating the machine does not know how the machine is supposed to work. That's the reason why I told you in this point one, a cyclist is very important. This is what I believe. So yeah, the frame sizing, does everybody know it? It's very simple. Go by the brand, go by the what the brand suggests, and trust the brand. If you are in the know in both the categories, small and medium, you know what to pick. You can check the brand with the brand itself, and sometimes the brand tells you that pick the smaller of the two sizes. Some brands do that, some brands don't say that. It's ambiguous. So it's up to you how you go. That's a very special case, so let's not get into the details as I told you. I'm just looking again. Next point is, yeah, so yeah, once you get the right bike frame size, it's like getting the right shoe size. That is the 50% of the job done for a bike fit. The next job is time the lace. The time the lace part is what is called the bike fit, adjusting the bike to your body, right? That is what I refer to. It's not something that you can read somewhere, but this is how I think of a bike fit to explain to all of you. Is getting the right shoe size is like getting the right frame size, which you should not ideally go wrong. And I told you how not to go wrong. After that, setting the lace properly to fit your feet is what you accomplish through a bike fit. So how do we set the lace properly? um, okay, so before we go there, I want to understand from each one of you very very simple questions. I want to throw at each one of you is, let us understand. A lot of times I see a lot of cyclists, instead of getting into too much of details, I want to keep it very simple. Where should a cyclist sit on the bike? What are the contact points? Can somebody tell me what are the contact points for a cyclist who's riding a bicycle, right? Very simple question, can't get more simple. What are the contact points? So we're looking at what should be a rider's position before we jump into this whole bike fit thing, right? Can somebody tell me what is the basic posture or positioning for a cyclist? Yeah, I can wait for the answers before we move on. So the first question is, where should the rider sit, right? So I will just put it simply is, first the contact points need to be established. The saddle, yes, saddle, pedal, and the handlebar. These are the three places of contact. Okay, I'm obviously not looking at left and right because that goes without saying. Uh, Everybody, I mean, almost all of us, we're looking at having two arms and two feet, two limbs. So now saddle is obviously it's there's no side to it. You sit on the saddle, there's only one saddle. Pedals, there are two. Your feet need to be placed on the pedal in a certain specific way. Handlebar, your hands need to be placed in a certain specific way. Saddle pay, what I suggest a lot of people is, I see a lot of people sliding forward. So if this is the nose of the saddle and this is the back portion of the saddle, and if you're going this way, you should be seated as far back as possible. Okay, you shouldn't be seated in the middle of the saddle, or you shouldn't be seated on the nose of the saddle. Okay, so this is something which we need to understand. A lot of riders who are new to cycling or who have not been advised properly, the basic thing that they forget is where to sit on the saddle. They need to sit on the saddle at a position which is at the back rearward, where the saddle is widest. Okay, slightly, no, I would not say widest, but yeah, you get the point, right? That's step one. Second, how do you pedal? Which part of the foot should be on the pedal? That's the second question. So a lot of people pedal with the heels, pedal with the arch of the feet. So this is the arch. They pedal with the arch of the feet, which is the middle of the foot when seen from front to back. A lot of people just don't know where the foot is. That's pretty common as well. I would say you need to pedal with your feet being on the axle. Again, the foot's widest part should be on the axle. So pedal has got an axle, which is the middle part of the pedal. Obviously, center part of the pedal is is called the axle of the pedal. The widest part of a foot should be placed ideally there. That's generally the midfoot area. You can roughly say midfoot. I don't want to get into too much of details again, because there is some anatomical names. If you talk to a doctor, he will say some more technical terms for it. But again, roughly saying for this session, we'll keep it as a midfoot, right? That midfoot is nothing but the widest part of your foot, ideally. That should be where the foot should be placed on the pedal. Okay. Handlebar, very simple. You hold the handlebar. Generally, you hold it, if it's a mountain bike, you hold it towards as far wide as possible, with your hands being comfortable. And For a road bike, again, you can hold in different places, but generally, a road bike, you have different places to hold. You can hold it in the center, you can hold it at the hoods, you can hold it in the drops. But for the ease of our session today, you can hold it anywhere on the top or on the hoods. We are not looking at holding on the drops, because I don't see that as a huge value add unless you're sprinting or racing. That's only for 10% of our audience, I'm just guessing. So we're not looking at that. uh, we are looking at more about being comfortable on a normal ride, where you're not really bothered about getting the top speed. So yeah, that's the place where you hold. But more importantly, after doing these things, right, what should be the rider's pedaling rate of pedaling? Again, this is a huge area of discussion and debate. What should be the rate of pedaling? uh, there is not one single number or figure that I can tell you that this should be the pedaling rate. Pedaling rate is also referred to as cadence. Cadence is nothing but your RPM, revolutions per minute or rotations per minute of the feet, okay, on the pedal. So imagine your feet are the engine that is rotating this pedal. How many times should the engine have the RPM, just like a car or a motorcycle, right? So very simple. I would say, generally, I've thought about it myself like a cyclist. When I'm talking to people about bike fitting, I just tell them your cadence can be anywhere between 75 to 95. I'm talking about flat road only. I'm not talking about uh, sudden conditions of uphill or downhill. I'm not talking about where in the traffic you have to stop pedaling because this is a auto wala or a bus person or a two wheeler cutting you or a signal. I'm talking about an open straight road where there is nothing to stop you from pedaling. Okay, and it's a flat road, flattish road. A little bit of flyovers here and there, acceptable, but it's not something which you're climbing a lot or going downhill again. So there, in that kind of situation, I'm looking at a 75 to 95 RPM. Okay, how do you measure this? You get devices. You get Garmin supports Ant Plus compatible devices, which will read out the data. Most often it's correct. I don't see any issue with the data mismatch or error in the readings. But you can look at it and say 75 to 95. It's a good idea if you're very new to cycling to get this cadence monitor to measure yourself. A lot of new riders, I see their average cadence after a ride always reflects low, but that is because as a coach, I see that they stop pedaling when they get tired. So that could be the reason why your average cadence can drop. But if you take away that fact, you should have a pedaling of 75 to 95. If you're riding below 75 rpm, maybe you didn't know that you need to ride above 75, because that will be the most efficient in my opinion. Obviously, you can have some riders who are going to ride at 65. It could be either they do not know about this most often and they do not wish to increase the cadence, which is always good to be between 75 to 95. Any questions on that we can definitely take before I move on to the next one. The next part is where should a rider look while riding the bike. A lot of times I'm seeing riders look down to shift the gear, or not look higher up or farther ahead. Best way is to keep your chin up, shoulders down, and look forward and relax yourself. This is obviously true for most of the bikes, I'm saying. Maybe a time trial kind of a bike, which again I cannot cover all kinds of bikes and all kinds of riders in this session. We will stick to mostly mountain bikes, hybrids, and endurance road bikes for this session when we're discussing special case situations where you are riding a time trial in a time trial specific bike might not make the most out of this session, because that is too specific and that I will not be able to cover. But for this session, which you're looking at normal hybrids or mountain bikes, or basic road bikes, generally we look forward, and that's how it is, and the shoulders are down. Yeah. Where should the rider hold the handlebar, and how should one hold the handlebar? I've told you. So where I have already told you. And we're not talking about time trial bikes today. Where should the bike? How should the rider hold the handlebar? Very simple. Rider must hold very, 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 um, comfortably. He or she should not hold the handlebar where it's like too much of stress on the arms. We should not, like, don't hold it so tight that you're stiff and you're stressing your muscles out. I would say keep it firm so that your hands don't slip, but don't hold it as if you want to break the handlebar. So that's something which can also cause a lot of shoulder pain and discomfort, and neck pain and upper body pain, upper back pain. So that's very common reason. We had discussed this in the last session also. The other question is, should the rider be stiffly seated or relaxed? Okay. Should the rider be stiffly seated, very, very tightly seated, or relaxed? So answer is basically, if your cadence, as we spoke, is between 75 to 95, and if you're holding the handlebar is not too tight, generally what happens when we see is the rider is kind of relaxed. Okay. Cycling is a very weird sport where below the hip from where the saddle is, because below the saddle, let's say, is all about power, pedaling up really fast. Okay. Above the saddle, it's a very calm zone. Okay. So the rider should not move, the upper body should not move left to right. He or she should be very, very stable. So if you can make this in your head, the mantra that below the saddle I will be powerful and put the power to the pedal, but above the saddle my body should not move left to right, that is when you get efficient on the bicycle. Now it's very, very difficult to explain this on a session online, but this is what I try and achieve through bike fits, by telling the riders how one must ride by visual cues and visual explanation. Mm, this is also done sometimes, having them ride on a stationary trainer. I can understand if you're new to cycling, you might not get what I'm just saying right now about the upper body being steady. But generally, if you listen to my earlier points of cadence and where to place the foot on the pedal, where to sit on the saddle, and how to hold the handlebar, you should be able to also, in little bit of practicing in your head, about how your upper body should be without moving too much, right? And keeping it nice and relaxed is the way to go ahead. Upper body. Lower body, obviously you're going to be pedaling, you're going to try and go faster. That's normal, right? uh, right. Any questions on that one? Right. Yeah, the next one is, a lot of riders I see, they go in for a bicycle and they want to buy a lot of stuff which they might not know that it might not help. Gel seat cover is very popular, I know. I think almost all of us would be using it. You touch the gel seat cover, it makes you feel very soft and nice by to touch with hand when you're buying the bicycle. But I would strongly advise against buying it, for the simple reason that you might you might think it helps you, but it doesn't help you. First and foremost, try and ride with a saddle that's originally coming with the brand. Okay. Generally you see hybrids and basic priced bicycles having a softer saddle. That is because they're made for riders who are not looking at riding more than 30-40 kilometers. At least the brands or manufacturers think of it that way. But when you see a road bike or high end hybrids which are priced higher, you will see that the saddles get harder. Okay, they are not soft. So you'll ask me, why is that? Very simple. The harder the saddle, the more comfortable it is for longer rides. This is my view, and there's there's no literature maybe backing it, but this is my view. So take it the way you think it is. You can also do your research, but generally what I feel is, harder the saddle, the better it is for longer rides. Uh, it will not be comfortable initially once you start cycling, but I'm sure it will be more comfortable, better than wearing the gel seat cover on the saddle. I would say do not wear the gel seat cover, but when you are not buying the gel seat cover, I would strongly advise you to buy riding shorts, padded riding shorts. Again, padded riding shorts begin at very low prices, like 700 bucks, 1000 rupees. I would say those will not last you for a long time. It's better to invest in slightly higher end shorts, uh, which will be tight. You should have tight fitting riding shorts. Do not buy it loose. Uh, that is the way to go. The costliest that you can afford is also one way of looking at riding shorts. I will not tell you about riding shorts in detail, but you need to try it, ride it to believe what I'm saying. So yeah, gel seat cover, no. Riding shorts, yes. These are the two things I would say for comfortable riding. Do not wear anything below the riding shorts is also one more reason, one more thing that might help you in comfort. Is it going to be comfortable from day one? Maybe not. If you're buying a cycle on a Monday, do not expect it to be comfortable for at least the first few 100 kilometers of cycling. You'll get used to it. Do not jump at doing a bike fit immediately once you buy the bike. Considering about the right frame size, what you should now do is, do not increase the distances of your uh, riding suddenly. A lot of people buy a bicycle on a Monday and go on a ride on a Tuesday for a 100 kilometer ride. Going on a cycle ride is good, but do not go on like a 100 kilometer ride if you've not been used to it, because the bike is new. So start riding easy. Do not jump into it. That can also cause aches and pains, and that is not related to bike fit. That is related to incorrect sudden increase of distance. Any questions till now? Any questions till now? Okay. This is a huge vast topic, but uh, I can quickly cover a little bit about saddle height. uh, for saddle height, if I will just tell you in a very very shortcut manner. Is this the only way to set up a saddle height? No. But is this the simplest way to tell you for now, for today, to as a, like a starting point? Yes. Set up a saddle height, very simple. It cannot be done by you alone. Ideally, it should be done with somebody else looking at you. But I would say that if you want it to be simplest way of adjusting it is, when you are using the same riding uh, gear, that is the riding shoes what you normally use for cycling. If you're using that, wear that with the same clothes what you would wear, everything being the same. Jump on the bike. You will need a friend to help you with this, because needs some amount of balancing on the bicycle when the bike is not being ridden. You can use a wall as a support. Again, that is up to you how you comfortable you are. Or the best way is to do it on a trainer. You can fix the bike on a trainer, stationary trainer, and you can sit without worrying about falling down when the bike is not moving. Simply put the heel on the pedal. Okay, you do not pedal with the heel, but for this setting up of the saddle height, the simplest way to do it is, one of the simplest way to do it is to put the heel on the pedal and try and ensure that when the pedal is in the lowest position on that side, either on the right or on the left, the leg of that side. So if the pedal is lowest at the right side, your right knee should be straight. It should not have a bend. This is one way of setting up a saddle height. Obviously, when you pedal with your middle of your foot, the saddle, and when you're seated on the saddle, you remember where to sit, right? You're supposed to sit at the widest part of the saddle. Then automatically there's a slight bend in the knee. As doctors or sports medicine doctors would tell you, that at this position, this kind of a setup, your knee is bent from an angle of 25 to 35 degrees. This is a very optimum angle for the knees to not be strained. So generally, if you see doctors after knee surgery for a patient, they advise swimming. They advise basically standing, then they advise walking, and then they advise swimming. And the next level of recovery or rehab is cycling, but with a proper saddle height. Okay, if you get the saddle height wrong, it can hamper the recovery of the knee. So a lot of people think, Array, if I cycle, my knee will get injured, or I will have issues. It's actually very good for the knees if you do it right. It strengthens the leg muscles around the knees. So yeah, this is one way of quickly setting up your saddle height by putting the heel on the pedal, both sides, and trying to see if the legs are straight. Now the only concern is when you're doing this on your own without expert, uh, without an expert around you, you can try and reach to that side of the pedal, left to right, by shifting yourself from the saddle. Do not do that, because your body should not tilt side to side. That means the saddle height is too high. When you are seated on the saddle properly, without shuffling your body from side to side, if your leg is straight on the right side and the leg is straight on the left side, obviously we are not getting into leg length differences, because that's a very high level of uh, next level of bike fit. But this is the basic way of setting the saddle height. For today, I would like to focus on saddle height alone, because this is the simplest thing to tell you. The most important and the most commonly gotten wrong fitment is saddle height. It's very difficult to get the correct saddle height. Having said all of this, I would say I haven't shared my bicycle with anybody in the last 15 years, 16 years, because of the reason that I consider a bicycle cannot be shared between people, because the saddle height cannot be changed for anybody. Saddle height is like power of attorney. Okay, it's a little funny. Saddle height is like power of attorney. Do not give your power of attorney to everybody and anybody. So hence, that's the reason why I do not give my bicycle to anybody else. I cannot share my bicycle. It is not because I am selfish. It is just that it is not possible to change the saddle height, because then I will be in pain, because it's like sharing a power of attorney. So for those of you who keep changing the saddle height, please stop it, because getting your saddle height to the correct position is very difficult. I think it shouldn't be fiddled with. This is again my totally my view. I'm sure a lot of people will may not agree with this, but this is to keep it very simple. Do not touch the seat post clamp. Leave it as is. Uh, the saddle keeps slipping afterwards. The other thing is, you can crack a seat post. If it's a carbon fiber seat post, you can crack a frame. So do not play around with it. It's not something that you play around on a weekly basis. Maybe if you think your saddle height is too high or low, the bike fitting person should tell you that, and he or she should have the license to touch it. And generally a lot of you will have asked questions, अरे मैंने तो साइकिल सर्विस के लिए दिया था, और उससे तो थोड़ा चेंज कर लिया है. Ideally the purpose person who's servicing the bike also should keep this in mind, because किसी का राइड पोजीशन बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट होता है. इसके साथ कुछ कम ज़्यादा होना not a good idea. So you should also be careful about it. When you're putting into the car, I try and remove the wheel, try and remove the rear wheel, but do not attempt to change the saddle height. uh, ठीक है. तो हमने बोला कि सैडल हाइट कैसे एडजस्ट करते हैं. सैडल हाइट एडजस्ट करते वक्त हील, अगर हम लोग हील रखेंगे पेडल पे और सैडल पे पीछे बैठेंगे, तो वो आपको सही सैडल हाइट आपको दिलाएगा. ये एक ही तरीका नहीं है कि सैडल हाइट पाने का, बट ये सबसे सिंपल तरीका है आपके लिए. हील रख के आप अगर आप रखोगे, तो आपका सैडल हाइट लगभग 99% वहां तक आ जाएगा आपका सैडल हाइट. बट याद रखिएगा कि पेडलिंग करते वक्त आप हील के साथ पेडल नहीं करोगे. आप अपना मिड फुट है, जो पाँव के बीचों बीच, जहाँ पे सबसे वाइड चौड़ा रहता है आपका पाँव, वहां से पेडलिंग करोगे आप. और सैडल के साथ सीट पोस्ट क्लैंप के साथ छेड़खानी जरूर मत कीजिएगा. वो आप फिक्स रखिएगा. उसको छूना मना है. अगर आप सर्विसिंग के दे रहे हो, तो उस मैकेनिक को भी छूना मना है. अगर आपको लगता है कि किसी किसी दोस्त को देना है साइकिल, दे सकते हैं, बट वो आपके ऊपर है। मैं अपने साइकिल को किसी के साथ शेयर करने नहीं देता हूँ। 16 साल से मैं अपना साइकिल अपने साथ ही रखा हूँ। साइड हाइट को बिगड़ने से मैं बचा के रखा हूँ। ये है सैडल हाइट के बारे में। कभी-कभी आप जब साइकिल पे सैडल सैडल पे बैठे रहते हो, तो देन व्हाट हैपेंस इज़, खड्डे पे अगर आप बिना देखे खड्डे पे उतारते हो, तो सैडल खिसकने का चांस होता है, कभी-कभी, रेयरली। इसी रीज़न से मैं बोलता हूँ कि सैडल पे बिना बैठे आप बैड रोड्स में चलाइएगा, क्योंकि तब वो सैडल खिसकने का चांसेस कम होता है। ये हो गया सैडल हाइट के बारे में। किसी को कोई सवाल है? गणेश, आपको कुछ सवाल है? आपको सब समझ में आया अभी तक मैंने जो बोला? कुछ अगर डाउट है तो ज़रूर आप मुझसे कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं। मेरा इंस्टा आईडी आपके सामने है, मेरा फेसबुक हैंडल आपके सामने है। अम, अ, दूसरा बहुत ही कॉमन चीज़ है कि वेयर शुड द हैंडल बार बी विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू द सैडल? तो लॉट ऑफ पीपल ऑनलाइन दे टेल दैट नहीं हैंडल बार शुड बी हायर देन द सैडल, और लोअर देन द सैडल, और द सेम लेवल ऑफ द सैडल. So I would say do not worry about that. Where the handlebar should be with respect to the saddle, वो ब्रांड्स तय करके रखा है पहले से। ज़्यादातर आपको फिडलिंग करने का ज़रूरत नहीं होता है। अगर आप सही फ्रेम अगर आपने लिया है, सही फ्रेम साइज़, तो हैंडल बार के साथ छेड़खानी में ज़्यादा आपको ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ता है। बट दैट इज़ अ सेकंड लेवल ऑफ बाइक फिट, जो कि मैं आपको ज़्यादा घुस नहीं सकता। बट काफ़ी सारे लोग को लगता है कि हैंडल बार रेस करने से कम्फर्ट मिलेगा, तो बहुत रेस कर देते हैं उसको। ऑलमोस्ट दे रेज़ अबाउट 4 से 5 इंच। ऐसा करना जायज़ है, नहीं जायज़ है, आई थिंक ब्रांड्स के साथ बात करके आप कीजिएगा। I would not say it is the correct thing to do or the wrong thing to do, but I would definitely say before you take these kind of decisions कि हैंडल बार को रेस कर दिया, 3-4 इंच से आपने रेस कर दिया, ये सही नहीं होता है मेरे हिसाब से। यू शुड थिंक ट्वाइस बिफोर डूइंग दीज काइंड ऑफ चेंजेस। चेंजेस करना बहुत आसान है, बट चेंजेस करना ज़रूरी है और सही है, ये दोनों का सवाल आपको देने के लिए बाइक फिटिंग एक्सपर्ट से आप ज़रूर कंसल्ट कीजिएगा, या फिर ब्रांड से, क्योंकि जो भी चेंजेस हैं ये सब अलाउड है कि नहीं पहले वो देख लीजिएगा। इन माई ओपिनियन, नॉट ऑल ब्रांड्स अलाउ टू डू दिस काइंड ऑफ चेंजेस वेर यू रेज द हैंडल बार बिकॉज यू थिंक इट इज गोइंग टू गेट यू comfort. Not the best thing to do. Right? We have a question. I have heard few apps that are used for satellite. How good they are? Bike fit online नहीं हो सकता मेरे हिसाब से. I don't think getting a bike fit done virtually through an online person is the best way. The best bike fits are done one on one. Okay, in person, best bike fits are done there because there's a lot of discussion that happens. Okay, bike fit also takes into account a person's flexibility, a person's cycling goals, and uh, performance targets. ठीक है, अगर आप 40 साल के आदमी हो, अ, और आपके पास साइकिलिंग का कोई हिस्ट्री नहीं है, इफ यू नॉट रिडन योर बाइसिकल्स फॉर द लास्ट 20 इयर्स, शायद आपका बाइक फिट में आपकी बॉडी के हिसाब से मेरे को देखना पड़ेगा कि what kind of bike fit can be done, because you might have issues of tight hamstrings, tight calf muscles, or tight glute muscles. ठीक है, but if you are a 35-year-old man who's been a runner, marathon runner, ultra marathon runner, and if you have been a sports person for the last 20 years, then maybe your bike fit can be different for the same height person riding the same bikes. So ये सब आपको देखना पड़ता है कि दो व्यक्ति, अगर दोनों के व्यक्ति के हाइट सेम हो और सेम उम्र के हो, बट अगर उनका यूज उनको जो करना है अलग है। एक आदमी को चलाना है 40 किलोमीटर हफ्ते में, दूसरे को चलाना है 80 किलोमीटर एक दिन में। हाउ डू यू चेंज दीज थिंग्स? दीज टू थिंग्स आर कंप्लीटली डिफाइंड बाय द customer or the rider in front of us. Yes, sir. Ganesh ji, thank you for your age, 52 years. Very good. Good to see you riding. Yeah. So this is what the bike fit is. It is very very specific to the rider. Rider के हिसाब से होता है bike fit. So for the handlebar, I'm not going to say it should be higher or lower or same level. The brand decides, the bike fitting person decides. Do not change it because you think it's going to bring in comfort. Maybe it's not the best thing to do. Am I saying don't do it at all? I'm not saying that, but just take a call with proper understanding of what, why, and how. Okay. Yeah. And how far should the handlebar be from the saddle? This is quite a common doubt you might have. Again, if you are buying the right frame size, अगर आप बाइक फ्रेम साइज ठीक ठीक वाला खरीदते हो, तो मेरे को लगता नहीं कि ये जो लेंथ है उसके ऊपर ज्यादा आप टेंशन लेने का जरूरत पड़ेगा. बट हाँ, दिस अगेन इज द नेक्स्ट लेवल ऑफ बाइक फिट वेर इन स्टेम में चेंजेस कर सकते हैं. This is something which the length can be adjusted. That's not a big deal. But height of the handlebar going up and down, while it can be adjusted, don't do it unnecessarily unless you're very sure about what you're doing and why you're doing it, how you're doing it. Stem is something which, if you do not know, stem is holding the handlebar and connecting it to the fork. स्टेम एडजस्टमेंट कर सकते हैं, करना चाहिए नहीं करना चाहिए, अगेन दैट इज समथिंग विच अ बाइक फिट पर्सन कैन लुक एट यू एंड टेल यू. अभी मैं वर्चुअली आपको बताऊंगा कि स्टेम में ऐसा होना चाहिए वैसा होना चाहिए, वो शायद सबसे वैल्यूबल नहीं होगा हमारे लिए. बट आज के लिए मेरे तरफ से बाइक फिट पे हम लोग बस ऊपर ऊपर से बात किए. जितना डिटेल मैं आपको दे सका, आई आई फील दैट मैं जितना हो सकता है मैंने आपको उतना डिटेल में दिया है. I have given you as much detail as possible about the bike fit, but generally this is an overview of the bike fit. We're not looking at going into too much of detail. Obviously, wherever you are staying, you will have access to a great, good bicycle store. You will have access to hopefully bike fitting specialists who are there in your city, and you should be in good hands. So yeah, that's from me. That's all there is from me. We can open it up to questions. You let me know when do you, if you have any questions, we can answer these questions.
Thank you, Shriram. It was a nice session, I must say,
Thank
because
you.
बाइक फिट के लिए लोगों की बहुत सी क्वेरीज रहती है, बहुत से कंफ्यूजन रहते हैं. एंड वन पार्टिसिपेंट rightly said, because there are many mobile apps also. I know things
Correct.
are going virtual, so for everything there's a mobile app. But yes, having a physical conversation makes a difference, and we should follow that, because see, at the end it's your body. If
Yes.
your bike fit is not proper, it will impact you, and of course. So
I just want to add one thing. Bike fit generally, from when I do a bike fit, it's one on one. It's done after a lot of question answers with the customers who are getting it. And generally मैं लेता हूँ 2.5 घंटे से 3.5 घंटा. So 2.5 to 3.5 hours. It's not a fast process. It's a very steady, slow process. Sometimes the customers, cyclists get bored, but the thing is, सही होना चाहिए. Once it should solve it, and उनके फीडबैक से मेरे को अगले बाइक फिट करने का मजा आता है. तो उनका फीडबैक बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट रहता है. सो दिस इज व्हाट अ बाइक फिट इज. सो अगर एक चीज जो 3.5 घंटा या 3 घंटा लेती है एक मूवी की जितना, तो आप समझ सकते हो कि इसमें कितना डिटेल में जाना चाहिए. तो बट ये बस टुडे सेशन वाज बेसिकली टू गेट अ अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ व्हाट अ बाइक फिट इज. But I think the most important point for anybody from today would be to how to get a correct frame size, which I told you. The second point is how to get the saddle height correct. And the third point is do not share the bike. अगर आप शेयर कर रहे हो तो फिर पावर ऑफ अटॉर्नी आप गवा रहे हो. सिंपल.
yes, अपनी पावर ऑफ अटॉर्नी नहीं शेयर करनी है.
करेक्ट.
Okay, so this is one question from Sonu Singh. Let me share
यस.
it on the screen.
यस.
So, how to
सो
maintain long painless sitting on MTB saddles?
यस. यस.
Shriram.
सोनू जी, मैं आपको इतना ही बता सकता हूँ कि आप अगर कुछ वीडियो या फोटोज या वीडियो शेयर करोगे मेरे साथ, और अगर आप ये बाकी सारे पॉइंट्स आपने कवर कर लिए हैं अपने तरफ से, केडेंस आपका ठीक है, आपको थोड़ा और डिटेल में बताना पड़ेगा ये कितने डिस्टेंस पे आता है, 30 किलोमीटर के रेट पे आता है, 60 किलोमीटर के रेट पे आता है, वो सब अगर आप डिटेल मेरे को शेयर करोगे मेरे इंस्टाग्राम हैंडल के साथ डायरेक्टली, तो मैं आपका हेल्प कर सकता हूँ. कितना हेल्प कर सकता हूँ मुझे पता नहीं, बट मैं कोशिश ज़रूर कर सकता हूँ कि आपको थोड़ा बहुत हेल्प मिले, क्योंकि अगर आप बैंगलोर में नहीं हो तो फिर इसको इसके साथ पूरा मतलब जस्टिस करना थोड़ा मुश्किल हो सकता है वर्चुअली, बट मैं कोशिश ज़रूर कर सकता हूँ।
So Sonuji, advice for you to get in touch with Sriram. I'm sharing his contact details of Insta and Facebook, and share more details about your problem. And
Yes,
of course, Sriram will try his best to help you. Right.
definitely. Any other questions we have? Anybody else?
No problem. If you have any question later, you can write to Sriram. His Insta
Yes,
and Facebook handles are mentioned here, and these videos are available on our social media handles: Facebook, YouTube, and you can share it with your friends. And of course, you can refer it anytime. They will be there forever. And
thank
with
you.
that, we end today's session. And our next session is on Thursday. That is on why we should choose the right gear. Yes, बहुत से लोगों को कंफ्यूजन होता है कि मैं कौन से गियर में राइड करूं, कब मेरे को कौन सा गियर यूज करना चाहिए. We'll address
Correct.
the questions in next session. And if you want any other topics to be covered in this session, we are always open to listen you and we'll try to help you. So
Thank you.
with that, good night everyone.
Thank you.
Safe, have a safe ride, and bye bye.
Bye bye. Thanks.